I greet you all and welcome you once again to the lesson. Today we are going to discuss the relationship between audit strategy and audit plan. These are two things, audit strategy and audit plan. What is the relationship between the two? Now, the audit strategy and the audit plan are two distinct but closely related components of the audit planning process. And they work together in a hierarchical manner, with the audit strategy providing the high-level roadmap. The strategy provides a high-level roadmap, and then the audit plan details the specific steps to execute that roadmap. That executes that roadmap. So it begins with the strategy. It is the overall roadmap. Then after the strategy, then an audit plan has to be developed, which gives the specific steps that has to be taken in order to execute the strategy. You understand? That is generally the relationship. They are distinct, but they work together. Okay? They are closely related components of the audit planning process. So let's, first of all, in trying to understand the relationship, we will define what an audit strategy is. Then we highlight some characteristics of the audit strategy. Then we do the same for audit plan. We define what an audit plan is. Then we give the key characteristics, because it's by understanding the key characteristics that the distinction or the relationship between these two can be understood. And of course, there could also be interdependent relationship. So let's first begin with the audit strategy. Audit. What is an audit strategy? Now, the audit strategy is the overall approach to the audit, the general approach, the overall approach, and it sets the scope, timing, and direction of the engagement. Okay? Have that at the back of your mind, that an audit strategy is the overall approach to the audit. It's to an audit. It is the overall approach to the audit. It sets the scope, timing, and direction of the engagement, and it's developed fast, and it provides a broad framework for the audit. And you can think of it as a big picture or a blueprint. It is the blueprint. It is the big picture. So what are the characteristics? Characteristics of an audit strategy. Now, the first characteristic of an audit strategy is it is a high level. Remember, we began by saying that the audit strategy, first of all, is one characteristic is high level. What does that mean? That means that it focuses on the significant aspects that will shape the audit. Another characteristic is that it has broad scope. An audit strategy has a broad scope. That is to mean that it defines the boundaries of the audit work. It defines the boundaries of the audit work. Number 3, it is directional. An audit strategy is directional. That is to say that it guides where the audit effort should be concentrated. 4, an audit strategy is risk-driven. It is driven by risk. It is driven by risk. It is heavily influenced by the auditor's initial risk assessment. Then there is the aspect of resource allocation. Resource allocation. Resource allocation. It helps determine the type and number of resources needed. For example, the specialists, the senior staff, and so on. Then lastly, another characteristic is in relation to the purpose. What is the purpose of an audit strategy? An audit strategy's purpose is to ensure the audit is effective and efficient. Effective means addressing risks adequately, and efficient means using resources optimally. You understand? And examples of what the audit strategy can determine would be whether to rely heavily on internal controls. An audit strategy will determine whether to rely heavily on internal controls. Okay. It may also determine the overall materiality level. An audit strategy can determine the key areas of high risk. It may also determine the need for specific specialists, like the need to have IT auditors or valuation experts and so on. Furthermore, an audit strategy can determine the timing of fieldwork, whether it will be interim or year-end. Then we also have the audit strategy determining the size and experience level of the audit team. That is what is done before the audit plan is developed. You understand, candidates? I'm giving examples of what the audit strategy determines. It determines whether to rely heavily on internal controls or not. It can also determine the overall materiality level and the key areas of risk. It could be, for example, revenue recognition or inventory valuation. Those could be key areas of risk, and that can be determined by the audit strategy before the audit commences. You understand? Yes. So that is audit strategy. We've defined it, and then we've given the characteristics, and I've given examples of what it determines. Or maybe I need to put it down for what it determines. I've said it may determine materiality level. 2, whether to heavily rely on internal controls. Number 3, an audit strategy may determine the number of the level of experience required, or the external persons that may be required, like the valuers or experts, okay, or the key areas of high risk, areas of high risk. An audit strategy may also determine the need for specific specialists, need for specific specialists like valuers, like IT auditors, and so on. So that is what an audit strategy may determine. Now let's move to an audit plan. Audit plan. Audit. That was audit strategy. I want us to discuss audit plan. audit plan. The audit plan candidates is often contained within the audit planning memorandum, and it is the detailed operationalization of the audit strategy. It's of the audit strategy. Now, most of you are law students. You've studied law, at least company law and business law, and you're aware of such terms as operationalization. You recall that when the constitution of a country is drafted, it gives the broad principles, broad laws are contained in a constitution. But that is not enough. Parliament may be called upon to draft laws that operationalize the principles as enshrined in the constitution. So the audit strategy is like a constitution, and statutes are like a plan. We have statutes and regulations which operationalize the principles that are laid out in the constitution. So an audit plan is a detailed operationalization of the audit strategy. We say that an audit strategy is an overall approach. This is just a general overall approach. This approach is executed through an audit plan. A plan is a detailed execution of an audit strategy. It translates the broad decisions made in the audit strategy into specific, actionable, and audit procedures. It outlines how the audit work will be performed. That's the meaning of an audit plan. So what are the characteristics of an audit plan? Characteristics. Now the first characteristic is that it's detailed. An audit plan, number one, is detailed. That is to mean that it specifies the exact audit procedures to be performed. Here, exact procedures are not outlined. The procedures are outlined in the audit plan. It's detailed. Number two, it's procedural. Procedural, meaning it lists the steps to gather evidence for specific assertions. It is also specific. An audit plan is specific, meaning that it defines the nature, timing, and also the extent of procedures for each account balance or for each class of transactions and disclosure. So if it is auditing of the fixed assets, then there has to be a detailed procedure on how the fixed assets will be audited. So it's very specific. 4. Responsive to risk. An audit plan is responsive to risk. That is to say that it contains detailed responses to specific risks of material misstatements identified in the strategy. 5. It allocates tasks. Within the audit plan, we'll have tasks that are allocated to various audit team members. It assigns specific procedures to individual audit team members. Then there is, of course, number 6, time frame. That's another key feature of an audit plan. It provides a more granular schedule for completing audit tasks. There has to be time within which the audit tasks have to be completed. Now let's give examples of what the audit plan entails or details. Examples of what the audit plan details. Examples of what an audit plan details. Now, an audit plan may contain specific test of controls. 1, test of controls. It may contain specific tests of controls. For example, observing segregation of duties in the purchasing agreement for 5 selected transactions. 2, detailed. It may also contain detailed substantive procedures. Detailed substantive procedures, for example, vouching a sample of 30 sales invoices to support shipping documents and customer orders for occurrence. It may also have what we call analytical procedures. Analytical procedures. These are examples, candidates. Analytical procedures to be performed. For example, comparing current year gross profit margins to the prior year and comparing the same to industry average, and then investigating significant fluctuations. That's an example of audit procedure. Then there is also exact sample sizes. Number 4, it may contain exact sample sizes, all right, for testing. Then also specific documents to be examined. Specific documents to be examined. This may be contained in an audit plan. What documents will be examined? It may also have due dates for various audit sections. Due dates. Due dates, because remember we said that there is a time frame, and therefore we may need to have due dates. These are due dates for various audit sections. So that's it, candidates. I hope you've understood the relationship between audit strategy and audit plan. We have defined both and then laid out the characteristics. But in closing, I want you to also note that there is an interdependent relationship between audit strategy and audit plan. Okay, what we call interdependent relationship. Let's discuss interdependence. There is an interdependence relationship between audit strategy and an audit plan, because as we stated earlier, strategy guides the plan. It begins with the overall approach. Strategy guides the plan. Number 1, strategy, the plan. You cannot have an audit plan without having an audit strategy. The audit strategy is developed before the audit plan, and it serves as its foundation. The audit strategy is the foundation of the audit plan, and that's why we say that the two are distinct but closely related components of the audit planning process. So an audit strategy is the foundation upon which the audit plan is developed, because the decisions made in the audit strategy directly influences the content and the focus of the detailed audit plan. For instance, if the strategy determines that internal controls are strong, then the plan will include extensive control testing. And if controls are weak, then the plan will emphasize substantive procedures. So that is one point to illustrate the interdependence between audit strategy and audit plan. Number 2, the plan implements. What is the meaning of that? The plan implements the strategy. Now, the audit plan provides the specific instructions and steps to execute the overall audit strategy. It ensures that the high-level strategic decisions are put into practice effectively and efficiently. There could also be an iterative process. Iterative process. What do we mean by iterative process? Now, while the strategy is established first, both the strategy and the plan are dynamic. And as the audit process progresses, and new information comes to light, the auditor may need to revise both the detailed plan and, in some cases, even the overall strategy to respond to changes in circumstances. So it is iterative. It is not cut in stone. Changes can be made at any point as the audit process is on track. That's point number 3. Number four, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency and effectiveness. A well-developed audit strategy ensures that the audit is focused on the right areas, and a detailed audit plan ensures that the audit procedures are carried out methodically and completely, contributing to both audit efficiency and effectiveness. So these 4 points illustrate the interdependent relationship between audit strategy and an audit plan. And in closing, candidates, we need to not to forget that audit strategy answers questions like, what are we going to do? And why are we going to do this way? Why are we going to do it this way? What are we going to do? And why are we going to do it this way? Those are the questions that are answered by an audit strategy. And that is at a conceptual level. Those questions are answered at a conceptual level. Okay? Broadly speaking. While the audit plan answers the questions, exactly how are we going to do it? And when will it be done? How are we going to do it? And when are we going to do it? That is the questions that are answered by an audit plan. That's why we say that an audit plan has a time frame. It has procedures on how the work has to be done, specifics, and also detailed. So that is at procedural level. This one, the questions are answered at conceptual level. Conceptual level. Audit plan questions are answered at procedural level. Procedural level. Answered at procedural level. And these two candidates, you can, in using other words, say they are two sides of the same coin, and both are essential for any successful audit engagement. That's all. God bless you. Bye-bye.